What's up, everybody? It's your boy Sterling, and welcome to ENT Football. Now, you're normally used to me saying welcome back to ENT Fantasy Football, but we are now a rebranded channel. We got a new logo. We got a new name to the channel. We're here today to talk about Derek Carr. I'm just going to get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. But before I do, actually, never mind, I'm not. Before we get right into it, make sure you guys go down below, like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Go watch our most recent video, which is an NFL trivia. It's a quiz. It's me and my good friend Joseph. We're sitting here on this couch and we're going against each other in a quiz. So make sure you guys go watch that video. Leave a like down below that video too. But do it after you watch this one. Do it after you watch this one because I'm here talking about Derek Carr. Now, as you can see by the title of this video, the Raiders failed Derek Carr. And that's how I truly feel. I do truly feel that the Raiders did fail Derek Carr. And so they've already played one game without Derek Carr. They played with Jarrett Stidham. They made the decision about a week ago to bench Derek Carr and to move forward with Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback. And to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of this move. I'm really not a fan of this move. I think that this move is basically the Raiders saying that we're going to pick Josh McDaniels over Derek Carr. And I honestly believe that Josh McDaniels is the problem with the Las Vegas Raiders. I think all signs point to the fact that Josh McDaniels is not a competent NFL head coach. And I do believe that he's probably going to be fired in the next year or two. Maybe I give him 2 years max, to be honest with you. We've already seen in his stint in Denver that he's just not a competent coach. He's a good offensive mind. He's good to be an offensive coordinator, but as a head coach of a football team, I don't think he's cut out for it at the NFL level. And so I want to get into some stuff about why I believe the Raiders failed Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr played 9 years for the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly the Oakland Raiders. During that time, the Raiders had an average of, I have some numbers right here on this little whiteboard for you guys. The Raiders had an average of the 26th ranked defense in Derek Carr's time on the Las Vegas Raiders. In the 9 years he was there, they had an average of the 26th ranked defense in the NFL. Bottom tier defense pretty much every year of Derek Carr's career. And this year was the year where we were coming into this year after some success last year. After they made some moves, specifically bringing in Chandler Jones. This defense was looking to be pretty good. It was looking to be a solid defense, specifically for the pass rushing. So I came into this year expecting, the Raiders, the secondary might still need some work, but the pass rush with a duo of Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, that's an elite pass rushing duo. And I have a number for you guys right here. The Raiders are 31st in the NFL in sack percentage. 31st. They're the second worst team in the NFL at getting to the quarterback. When on paper with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, you should be one of the top tier pass rushing teams in the NFL. And also, the Raiders have blown 8 leads this season. 8 leads. They've been leading in 8 games this season and have lost those games, which is unacceptable. And another reason why I think they failed Derek Carr, in the 9 years Derek Carr has been on the Raiders, they've had 6 head coaches, 4 offensive coordinators, and 3 GMs. In Derek Carr's tenure on the Las Vegas Raiders, there has been pretty much nothing but dysfunction and a revolving door of people in the higher positions, management, coaching, all that stuff. Derek Carr has had no stability on the Raiders. And also, just to add insult to injury, the Raiders have been historically bad at drafting in the first round in recent years. Historically bad. To the point where Josh Jacobs is their only real draft pick in the first round that has panned out, and they disrespected the man. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, and the man is most likely not going to be on the team next year. And they have just been terrible year after year after year at drafting in the first round. It was looking like Henry Ruggs was on his way to being an impactful receiver in the league. Unfortunately, we saw what happened with him. Guys like Alex Leatherwood didn't pan out. Cleveland Farrell, although I think he's shown some bright spots here and there, I think he's not going to return the value that they drafted him with. That's very safe to say. He's been very, very underwhelming up to this point. In my opinion, the Raiders have the 2 most embarrassing losses of all teams this season. Number 1, They lost to Jeff Saturday and the Colts in Jeff Saturday's first game as a head coach. People were literally out here talking about how Jeff Saturday might actually be a solid NFL head coach because in the first game, they beat the Raiders. Number 2, they lost to the Baker Mayfield Rams after Baker Mayfield being on the team for 2 days. 2 days. I don't even think it was a full 2 days. It might not even have been a full 48 hours. And the Raiders lost to the Rams. Now, the number one reason why I think the Raiders are trying to move on from Derek Carr is money. Straight up. It's as simple as that. It's the money. Now, Derek Carr obviously just recently signed an extension with the Raiders. And over the next few years, he has $121 million on that contract, of which only $5.6 million is guaranteed. 5.6 only of $121 million is guaranteed. So basically, the Raiders just don't want to pay the man. And if they move on from him now, they don't have to pay him his entire contract. But the main thing of this is that Derek Carr has an injury guarantee in his contract. So if Derek Carr were to get injured in the last 2 games of this season, they would have to pay him that money. And so basically they said, Derek, we know you've done a lot for our franchise, but we're just going to move on. We're not going to pay you the money. And so I think it's a slap in the face to Derek Carr. Derek Carr has been nothing but class. He's been nothing but a leader for this team, and I think it's disrespectful how they're doing this, man. Now, I do think it is better for both sides. I do think it's better for both sides because Derek Carr is going to be able to go to a situation where he's going to have more stability. He's going to have better players around him. And I think we've kind of already seen the ceiling of this team with Derek Carr on this team. Like, we've tried it year and year and year again. We've seen Derek Carr on the Raiders, and almost every year it's a disappointment. Now, none of that is Derek Carr's fault, but I do think him moving on to a new situation will be better for Derek Carr, and same for the Raiders. The only thing is that I think the Raiders are going to try and sign a free agent this offseason. I'm honestly leaning towards either Jimmy Garoppolo or Tom Brady. I think they're going to try and pursue those 2 guys heavily, specifically because they're probably the best 2 guys that are going to be on the open market this year. And also they have a previous relationship with Josh McDaniels, the head coach. Obviously, Jimmy G and Brady were both on the Patriots during McDaniels' tenure. So they already have a relationship there. I don't know how realistic getting Tom Brady is, but I think Jimmy G is a realistic option for this team. But is he better than Derek Carr? Is he better than Derek Carr? Now, the one positive of this is that you'll be able to pay Jimmy G less than Derek Carr, and Tom Brady will most likely take a pay cut to come to this team. Tom Brady just historically has done that in his career, and he'll be able to play in Vegas, blah, blah, blah. There was a report, I guess, that Brady was almost going to go to the Raiders a couple years ago during his big free agency. But I think those are the 2 most likely options. If I were the GM of this team, I would blow it up. Davante Adams clearly is not happy. He clearly was a big fan of Derek Carr. He was best friends with the guy. He's a huge supporter of Derek Carr, and I think he honestly feels disrespected by this move as well. I would trade Davante Adams, get as much as you can for him. Josh Jacobs is probably going to leave this team in the offseason. Darren Waller, I would probably try and get a draft pick for him. Chandler Jones, the same. And I would just reset this team. Get a quick reset. Try and trade Derek Carr. The thing is that the Raiders, if they can't trade Derek Carr, I think they're just going to cut him because I don't think they want to pay him his contract. If they can't find a suitor during trade, I think they're just going to cut him. And if I'm another team, I don't want to trade for Derek Carr if I know you're just going to cut him. So I think it's going to be hard for them to get a good package for Derek Carr, unfortunately, after all this fiasco that they've done. Yeah, if I were this team, I would just restart, accumulate some young players, some draft picks, trade all your good players, and just restart. Just restart. Because if you bring in Jimmy G, nothing's going to change. You're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Jimmy G is not going to cut it out in this division, even in the AFC at all. The option I would take with this team, though, is to draft a quarterback. I think there's a clear ceiling to your team if you get Jimmy G. If they get Jimmy G, in my opinion, it's a downgrade from Derek Carr. But I think the ceiling of a Jimmy G-led Raiders team is like a 6th seed, 5th seed wildcard team, especially with the division that they're in. And so I would rather just reset the roster, trade all your big pieces for draft picks and young players, reset, draft a quarterback. The only unfortunate part is that this team was almost too good, I guess, to draft a quarterback because where their pick is going to be, they're going to be choosing between Anthony Richardson out of Florida, who has shown flashes that he could be a good NFL quarterback, but I think he is a raw prospect, and Will Levis is going to be around there. If you're going to want to get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud, they're going to have to trade up, and that's also unrealistic to me. I don't really see that happening. CJ Stroud is more realistic, but I don't see them making a big home run swing and trading up that high in the draft to try and select one of those guys. And so they'd be going with like an Anthony Richardson. Maybe they can try and trade for an Aaron Rodgers, maybe a Jordan Love. I think one of those quarterbacks is going to be available. And yeah, it's just, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Landing spots for Derek Carr. This is what I was really excited to talk about. My number one hopeful landing spot for Derek Carr is the New York Jets. I think that's a great situation for him. They already have an elite defense, which is, obviously, I've been reading these numbers. Derek Carr has never had anything close to an elite defense. The Jets already have an elite defense who's pretty young. They're only going to be getting better. They have really good options on the offensive end that are young. Obviously, Breece Hall is going to be coming back from injury next year in year 2. I think he's going to look really good. Garrett Wilson has been, in my opinion, the best rookie wide receiver this year, and he's got wide receiver 1 potential. Elijah Moore, obviously he's had a down year. Most of that was with Zach Wilson. With Mike White this year on the Jets, he's been a little bit better, so Elijah Moore's a good target. And I think the Jets is a really good landing spot for Derek Carr. I really do think it is. And I honestly think that's a match made in heaven. The only thing is that they're in the AFC. Are the Raiders going to want to trade Derek Carr to an AFC team? So possibly the Washington Commanders. They're sort of like a quarterback away from, competing, I guess. I think that would be a good landing spot. Obviously, their front 4 on defense is elite. Their secondary is inconsistent at times, but shows flashes. Their wide receiving options are great. Towards the top of the league, they have Terry McLaurin, who's a very, very good receiver, obviously. Jahan Dotson, a rookie this season, has shown a lot of potential, especially in recent weeks. Curtis Samuel is a gadget player that's super versatile. Brian Robinson is a rookie running back who's shown some flashes, I guess. And I like that spot. I like the Commanders for him. I've seen people throwing around the Colts. I'm not a fan of that. I think the Colts should just draft a quarterback. They've been retreading these quarterbacks year after year after year. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers. I think they just need to go young. Just get a young quarterback and develop him. And also get some continuity with that team. And so, yeah, Jets and Commanders are my 2 favorite landing spots for Derek Carr. And so, yeah, that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Go down below. Comment landing spots that you want to see Derek Carr at. Comment where you want to see Derek Carr go. Comment what you think about the Raiders. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out of here.